Didi.
Hey everybody, Armand here, Chi Skills. Today we have a podcast again and we have a good one.
Yeah.
It's all about our favorite subject, which is...
Food.
Of course. But also fascia.
Fascia.
And the combination between the two. And we're hoping here that we can share a little bit more about why we're working together. Because that's where we meet, right?
Absolutely.
So today we're studying the relationship between fascia, food, different organs, and how we can, see this relationship, this cycle that's there, and how everything helps. And that without these two, it's hard to build any foundation, in these arts, right? Qigong, Tai Chi, because they're so heavily based on elasticity of the body, right? So we have obviously the physical aspect of the training of fascia, right? How that is developed through, of course, stretches and partner training, kettlebell swings, trampoline jumping, all these aspects of opening joints and stretching fascia. We make videos about these, of course, right? So you might have seen these already. But what's maybe not so, where people are not so familiar with, is that there's actually organs that are related to the elasticity of the body. Yeah. And if we can help these organs, with what we eat and how we treat them, then we can have huge benefit of that, right? Yeah. So without further ado, my specialist in food, Didi, what can you talk a little bit about the relationship between the fascia and the organs?
Yeah. Well, if we look at what we're talking about is traditional Chinese medicine. And if we look at traditional Chinese medicine, what they combine is like they work with the 5 elements. The spleen and the stomach are of the earth element, and they're all about digestion.
Digestion makes sense, right?
Yeah. It's all about digestion qi, and this earth element, it represents a couple of other things as well, and the fascia belongs to earth element.
Wow. Which is funny because it's the most physical aspect of our energy body, right?
So if you want to have strong fascia, you need strong digestion. Okay.
Long silence. But that's it, right?
That's
okay,
it. So
we're done. No,
we're
okay.
done. Yeah, well, but it's funny because if the energy, or the qi as they call it, if the qi of your earth element is weak, everything in the body starts to sink.
Okay. Yeah.
So this energy holds up your
everything.
System,
your whole system, right? So, and what you told me also, it's also about the veins, about the blood in the veins and strong veins. So like people who bruise easily, right? They might have a problem there.
A problem with the
spleen qi.
Yeah, spleen qi, as we call it. Yeah. So if you want to have a strong energy around your digestion, one of the things is to eat the food that fits you. That's the first step. So look at what do you eat, how do you eat, and what do you eat.
Right. So, and we would like to go a little bit deeper in that, because that's such an important thing, because a lot of people have an idea what healthy food is about, right? But that might not be exactly so, right? So, what makes the Chinese version and the vision on that, right, different than maybe other things that people are aware of, right?
Actually, when you look at traditional nutrition in general, we look at the food as is it warming for your system or is it cooling for your system? So every food has a temperature.
Right.
And so this is not just for 5-element food, but this is something that you don't see at the modern Western nutrition.
Right? Yeah.
And this is such a important part of a nutrition.
Yeah. So you could say it's not about what you bring into the system, right? Because it might look on your plate like, okay, we've got all these vitamin stuff right there, and we have the seaweed and whatever, but it's all about how that is digested in your system.
Yeah, and exactly. And we do that by looking at temperature and also by the taste, and they are related to the 5 elements. So am I feeding my whole system? Am I feeding every organ, or am I just feeding the liver energy, or you know, so
anywhere you go more to the extremes, maybe to dampening foods, to cooling for the system,
or if some people say, oh, I don't like the bitter taste, so I leave out everything bitter or everything, and then there is a part of you that doesn't get enough energy on that part.
Exactly.
So but now we're very analytic about food. So that's one part, but it's good to see, okay, that's where I should have started. Where are my disbalances? So do I have a lot of heat in my system? Am I very cold? Do I have specific things that I like? Do I have headaches a lot, or my emotions are all over the place? Am I very stressed?
To go to the toilet during the night, things like that.
And so I analyze myself, and then I go to my food and I look at what am I eating now, and where do I need to leave things out? And what things should I put in? Sounds so easy.
Well, it sounds easy, and I think this podcast is too short to go into that, because we're looking at relationship, right? That there is actually a relationship between the elasticity of the body, which makes all these arts so healthy for you, and we have the digestion, right? There is this relationship,
and there's this relationship. So we talked a little bit about what's different about 5-element food, and why. So if you look at digestion, you look at those things to see what food is good for you. And if your digestion is good, that really helps your fascia.
That helps the fascia, and it helps the fascia to grow. It helps the elasticity of it all, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
One of the aspects, because it's vice versa, one of the aspects of poor chi around the spleen is weak fascia. If you come to a Chinese, someone who like an acupuncturist, and he's gonna say, okay, what are the things where are your disbalances? And he sees that your fascia is poor, he will say, okay, your spleen energy is not good.
Exactly, and that is so brilliant that we have the training on one side, and on the other side we have our diet, right? And these two, those can help so much in this overall energy. But then, and that's nice, there's another relationship, right? So you were talking about, let's go a little bit back to the spleen is all about the fascia, right? The elasticity of the muscles. And then there's another organ that's about
tendons.
Exactly, and those are important as well.
And these have the biggest impact on your food, on your digestion, not on your food. Right. But it's wood element, and that's the liver. And what does the liver do? It's for a good flow of chi through the body.
So
it takes care of a good flow of chi through the body. And if you're like, if the liver is under a lot of pressure, there is stress in the body, and everybody knows this. If you're very stressed, your digestion is not going well.
Nope.
It's just not possible.
That's just nature, right?
It's nature. It's when you have a lot of emotions going, if there's a lot of pressure on you, that will have a direct effect on the liver.
Exactly. So now we can look at the relationship between
Yeah.
the fascia and the liver,
Yeah.
and we can look at the relationship between the liver and the
Yeah.
spleen. So now
Yeah.
we're getting a triangle. People,
Yeah.
picture this in your mind, right? So let's look at if we go to the physical training, right? So if we have the fascia,
Yeah.
which the fascia, of course, is in the muscles, but it also goes into these tendons. These tendons, that's all the elastic stuff of your body, right? Sorry for that word, but that's what it is, I guess. So if we do a lot of stretching, if we're opening and working with this fascia, that has a tremendous effect on the liver.
Yeah.
Because it relaxes.
Absolutely. And this is the thing. One of the things that they say to relax the liver is to stretch.
Exactly.
And
this liver doesn't like contraction, right? Because it likes expansion, because it wants to feed all the other organs with the chi, right? Yeah. So it has to spread. It has to have this sort of energy to move energy. And then we have the relationship between the liver and the spleen, because we know that relationship, of course, like the stress has the effect on that. So, and then we have the spleen has the effect on the physical has the effect on the... And now we're talking, right? Now we're talking.
So it can build up, but knowing that this all has an effect on each other, you can help it. By stretching, you help the liver. By eating well, you help your fascia, and you help and the kind of food you eat. You can also help the liver. So you can build it, or if you're not aware of this, you can actually hold yourself back.
Exactly. Yeah. You might be training, but you might never really get into this fascia aspect. And I think if we look at the physical aspect, that some people don't realize the amount of work and training that goes into developing a true Tai Chi body. Yeah. Right? It took me a while, right, to get to the point that I'm always open, right? I step out of bed and everything's open, right? Because it's not about how you say it. It's like, I exercise and then that's that. No, it's about transforming yourself.
Yeah. And it's all these aspects. Yes. So it's not just training.
No, it's not just training. Yeah. It was the training, but on the other hand, recognizing where are my disbalances, right? And the first thing you always go to is the digestion, right? Food. That's food. And because that's where everything starts, right?
And I think for us, to go a bit more practical, the funny thing was that when you started training your Tai Chi, it was around the same time that I got really into the nutrition.
Yeah.
So that was
what a perfect combination!
Yeah,
wow.
But we weren't really aware of this. Oh. But it did help because you started training. I did the nutrition. Well, I was at that time as kind of responsible for the grocery shopping, so that was the food that was coming in. And by changing our food and the training, it was just a golden combination. But at the time, we weren't really aware of it. Mm-hmm. Later on, we understood why it had such an impact.
Oh yeah, I mean, because... And I think the uniqueness now is that we have this combination and understand this combination, but it's not often talked about, right? In these contexts and I hope this really helps for you, right? So that you see that once you start with this digestion part and with the training, is that there's not only a link between the digestion, like the liver and the digestion that way, but it's going to help release emotional stagnations as well. Yeah. I couldn't have imagined that. Right? But it did so much. Because, Didi, if we're talking about disbalances, there's always emotions about that.
Always.
That, right?
Yeah, always. So, and especially, if you look at every element has its own emotion. That is like with the spleen or the digestion, everything that comes to you need to digest. So it's all those impulses from outside.
All these experiences.
Interactions. They go through you. And the better your digestion is, the better you can transform these. You can you can let go of it.
Let go of, right? Yeah. Right. And that helps for this expansion, right?
Yeah. And especially when you look at wood element with the liver, we have all sorts of sayings about the liver.
Yeah.
Because it's also the part where there's frustration, anger. It's especially related to this element.
Yeah, we have a saying in Holland, roughly translated in English, is like, do you have something on your liver, right? Yeah. Is there pressure on the liver, something like that, right?
And that's when somebody is really angry or suppressed anger.
Suppressed anger. Yeah. But think about the feeling of suppression.
Yeah.
Just only think about it, and feel what happens in your whole system.
Yeah.
You can feel the contraction in the physical. Yeah. You can feel all this energy going inward. And people, that's not what we want, right? You want expansion. Yeah. And that's what all this training is about.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then we have the fascia itself, which of course is the energy body in its most physical form. It is the nervous system. It's everything, right? It's the whole communication through your body. And then when we start talking about the vital energy itself, so like, okay, we have this optimal digestion going. That means there's optimal jing, right? And this jing is gonna flow through this fascia, and that's gonna keep your structure up.
Absolutely. Right? Yeah. It all helps each other. Like if you have in the 5 elements, we kind of tear it apart.
Yeah.
Because that's how we learn.
Yeah.
But it all belongs to each other.
Absolutely.
So one good breath helps to
You say it, I mean, and I just immediately release. It's unbelievable.
But it can be a release. It can be.
Totally.
But if we don't do it,
nope.
if we don't breathe well, if we keep it in, it's a contracting energy, and all the other elements will be contracting.
They're all suffering then, right?
Yeah.
And we have to be honest, because we had to write this down also a little bit, right? Because but because you want to understand it.
Yeah.
And that's important, right? But you have to see that it's all one cycle.
Okay. Yeah.
And all, like you said, one breath
can change it all.
Yeah. Can change it all.
And it can change either way. There's it can be for the better or for the worse, and it has a chain reaction.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you start breathing well, if you start meditating, that's so important for that liver to relax, and then you sleep better, and you have all your blood will have the time to regenerate, and so every step you take will help everything.
Exactly. So there's not one way in. There's all these different entries, right? And that's cool that you say that, because Qigong goes much further than only moving exercises, right? It's also about meditation, also about mental training, so that we have all these entries into ourselves and look like, okay, what's stuck here, right? Yeah. What's stuck here? What? Because I think every disbalance is about something that is stuck. Yeah. Right? It's
Stagnation. And that's exactly what we're looking for. And that's, if you look, and that's cool about traditional Chinese medicine, if you look at the other things, if I give somebody an advice on food, the first thing I'm looking for is to take away stagnation.
Yeah. So how do you do it? Can you take us a little bit through a couple of these basic steps with someone, if you help someone with this?
Sure. So the first step, what you do is, what I just said, you analyze.
Right.
And how do you do that? Is that very basic, you write down what you eat. But there's a
very confronting, people. Yeah.
Some people don't even get to that first step.
I know.
Because there's so much emotion around food. There's so much conditioning around food.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And because of that, it's hard to start working on another way of eating.
Exactly.
Because there is so much emotion about food. But first step, you write down what you eat, and then what do you feel after eating? Not just right after. Yes, that's nice. We want to know, what does it do to your body? What kind of energy do you get from eating? So does it feel like, again, does it feel contracting? Does it feel expanding? Do you get like heat wave from it? Like like the red
or
pepper?
is there more like a dip?
A dip, So where does that energy go? And what you want from your food is that the energy goes everywhere into your body, but it kind of feels light. Light and energetic. That's the perfect thing if you how you want to feel after.
Absolutely.
After
and I know the feeling now.
Yeah.
Right. So when she says it, I'm like, I know that feeling now.
Yeah.
And people, it wasn't like that.
No.
It wasn't like that.
But that's right after.
Yeah.
But if you look at like a couple of hours later, sometimes you think, why am I feeling so down? Why am I angry?
Yeah, in my head or...
Yeah. It can have everything to do with your food.
Yeah, but it might be hours later, right?
And sometimes we don't sleep well because we ate late, or we ate something that's not good for us.
Or too stimulating, or too much heat, too much movement.
And by writing it down, and this is a great exercise, and I ask every client to do this for at least a week. So you write down what you eat and how you felt afterwards. And then, how was your sleep? How was your stool? I mean, it's not something a lot of people talk about.
No, but it's
but it's so important because that gives you the signs. Your body tells you everything. Your body tells you everything about how you feel, where your disbalances are.
I'm thinking about the word stagnation now, right?
Yeah.
We don't want that, right?
No, you don't want that.
But the funny thing is, Didi, there's an overlap between everything that we do. Like, if we go look at real mindfulness, when I learned mindfulness from Mark Rasmus, he made us write things down, right? He was like, okay, we're going to sit for whatever, like maybe 20 minutes or something, sitting there, you start observing the thoughts, and just don't touch them. Let them go. And then, but it might be that you get distracted, right? That a thought just grabs your attention in such a way that you lose your mindfulness. And that's something you want to write down. So he let us write it down afterwards. Like, do you remember what got you out of your mindfulness? So this is all about mindfulness, right? And also on an emotional level is like, he made us he made us go through the black and the white mirror, which is pretty extreme. It's like, okay, here's your soul and observe it, and what's in there that's stuck. What is there, right? So we have this mental level, we have the astral, chi level, right? We have our food, we have our training, we have all these things about, you can only change stagnation if you know and understand that and realize that there's stagnation. Yeah. And all these levels are interacting with each other, right? Yeah. And this is something that we're gonna do in the future, is we're gonna just rip this apart and dive deep into it, because I hope you realize that if you are doing this for your health, and I hope you are, right? Because this is, is that you have to understand that it's a holistic thing. Yeah. You cannot separate stuff, right?
And you go through everything, every aspect of your life.
Yep.
So you start with yourself. And I give advice on food, but in the end, you see, it's just an entry. It's an entry for people to change their lives. It's an entry because they see, why am I eating this way? What am I trying to compensate? Or, all sorts of things, they come up. There is
all these aha moments of oh, that's why I'm eating that, right?
And then I had people, they changed their jobs after doing this.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They made this changes in their lives just by taking care of themselves. So it's super holistic.
Well, it's the puzzle. Who are we? And you know,
Yeah.
we are complex.
Yeah.
You know, we have a brain. We have emotions. We have
Yeah.
our physical body, and
Yeah.
we have the outside world. You know, we have our inner reactions. We have all these things. But if we truly want to transform, we have to go deep into that, right?
And I think for because a lot of our clients or your students, they come to me, and then we can just set them up because
Absolutely.
because it's so interrelated, and then you work on two fronts, like it's
Absolutely.
two entries, and then you see it doubles. It's like a synergy.
Mostly it takes a while, right? Because for people to change their diet and food, that's a harder step than to get them to physically train in the beginning. But you know, you hear a lot of people say this as well. It's like that food comes in the end. It should be up front. Yeah. I'm repeating this. It should be up front. Yeah. But we're people, right? So you start with the physical. You learn people you teach them how to feel. You teach them about energy. And then you make them realize and keep diaries and see you have to work on your diet. Yeah. And that will just balance everything out. Yeah. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow. You are a rock star.
And so are you.
Oh, thank you. Well, people, I truly hope this gives you a bit of insight. And of course, we're going to dive much deeper in all these aspects, right? But see this, just take a step back and see the holistic thing, the cycle that's going on here.
And see where you can start. And it doesn't have to be like, don't change everything at one time. It's too hard. But if you just one step, and then take another step and take another step, and it will build up. Before you know it, wow.
If people only stretch in the beginning,
perfect.
They work on the liver, and this liver, there's less stress. That has an effect on the digestion, and the digestion helps it. So if it doesn't matter where you start, right?
Yeah, just start.
Just start. So and we're gonna stop.
Yeah.
I think you said it all for today, right?
That was great.
Yeah.
So, I really hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did.
I did too.
Yeah. Like and subscribe. Put something in the comments if you have a question or anything.
Absolutely.
We love to hear from you and
hear you next time. Or see you next time.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.